Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Today, we're diving into a story that's making waves both in South Africa and across the globe. The United States is reportedly preparing to impose targeted sanctions on senior South African political figures. This marks the most serious diplomatic fallout between Washington and Pretoria since the dark days of apartheid. Now let's break it all down. As of April 5, 2025, reports from US media are confirming that the Biden administration is pushing for tough action against South Africa. Why? Well, it's a combination of foreign policy disagreements, allegations of high-level corruption, and Pretoria's growing ties with global powers that the US considers adversaries, particularly Russia, China, and Iran. The tension didn't start overnight. This conflict has been building for months, and it escalated dramatically in February when former US President Donald Trump, now back in office for a second term, signed an executive order suspending all US aid to South Africa. That move sent a strong signal, citing South Africa's controversial land expropriation laws and its alignment with countries that challenge US geopolitical interests. Things took an even sharper turn in March when US Secretary of State Marco Rubio made headlines by declaring South African Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool persona non grata. That's right, Rasool was kicked out after he openly criticized American foreign policy on a global stage. This unprecedented move sparked major outrage in diplomatic circles and further damaged relations between the two nations. Fast forward to April, and Congressman Ronnie Jackson has now introduced a bill called the U.S. South Africa Bilateral Relations Review Act of 2025. This is a big one. If passed, it would open the door for a complete reassessment of the U.S. South Africa relationship. It also gives legal ground to impose asset freezes and travel bans on top South African officials suspected of corruption or human rights violations. This is no longer just a war of words, this is a full-blown diplomatic crisis. So, what's behind this sudden crackdown? Washington insiders say the Biden administration is deeply uncomfortable with South Africa's foreign policy shift. Pretoria's refusal to distance itself from Russia during the ongoing global power struggle, its support for China's Belt and Road Initiative, and recent trade talks with Iran have all raised red flags. US lawmakers are now pushing back, framing South Africa as a country moving away from democratic values and closer to authoritarian regimes. Back home in South Africa, the government has yet to issue a formal response. But behind closed doors, sources say there is growing concern in Pretoria about the potential impact of sanctions. Targeted sanctions on high-level politicians could damage individual reputations, freeze international assets, and isolate South African leaders from global institutions. There's also the looming threat of trade disruptions. The US remains one of South Africa's key economic partners, not just in aid, but in investment, agriculture, tech, and finance. If these sanctions go through, they could trigger retaliatory policies, disrupt key exports, and shake investor confidence in South Africa's economic stability. Now, it's important to remember the historical context. The last time South Africa faced sanctions from the US was during apartheid, when the global community took a stand against racial segregation and injustice. Those sanctions had a massive impact on the country's economy and global standing. To see the US moving in a similar direction in 2025, over foreign policy and corruption, is not only a powerful political signal, but also a reflection of just how strained the relationship has become. What makes this even more significant is the timing. South Africa is still trying to rebuild trust in its institutions, navigate coalition instability in government, and prepare for the ANC's 2027 elective conference. International condemnation at this moment could severely limit Pretoria's room to maneuver. So what happens next? Well, the fate of the U.S. South Africa Bilateral Relations Review Act lies in the hands of the US Congress. If it gains enough support, we could see swift action. Meanwhile, the South African government faces immense pressure to respond, whether through diplomacy, defiance, or a complete policy rethink. As always, the people caught in the middle are ordinary South Africans. Any fallout could affect economic growth, the rand's value, and diplomatic access around the world. The stakes are high, not just for politicians, but for the country as a whole. We'll be watching this story closely as it develops. What do you think about these proposed sanctions? Are they justified, or is the US overreaching its power once again? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into South Africa's biggest political stories. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay informed. See you next time.